Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Matt Connarton, and to my right, as always, looking very dapper, the Honorable Gary S. Hopper. I mean that in a heterosexual bro kind of way, Gary.
You didn't call him Foxy. If you called him Foxy, we would know that you were doing it in a derogatory way.
Right, that would be weird. Well, no, I wouldn't be doing it in a derogatory.
He would never do anything derogatory. Oh, no, you have, actually.
Have I? Yeah, I don't know, probably. I don't know.
Our guest today is Karen Testerman, who is running for the United States Senate against Jean Shaheen. So anyway, I had my watch on backwards this morning, so I didn't know whether I should cut my arm off and flip it the other way.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean? It's because I did it.
You can always sell it to the drugstore and see if you could find one that matched.
Well, no, what I did earlier, and then I just had other people read it for me.
Right.
But then I said, well, why don't I just take it off and switch it around the correct way?
You're one of the few people who still wears a watch.
I know, because I can't.
You don't carry a cell phone.
I don't have a cell phone. There's this girl that I met the other day, and I was trying to help her out, and she's on disability because she's got ADD, which is bizarre to me because I've had ADD forever.
You can collect disability for that?
I know. I was like, really? I mean, she could carry on a conversation, quite a few minute conversation. So to me, it's not. And if you had ADD so bad that if I was talking, oh wait, what's that? Hey, no, you know what I mean?
Right. I mean that happens anyway, but we still get through the show.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it was so bad that you couldn't even carry on a conversation, okay, I get it.
Right. Right.
But no. So she's on disability for that, and she's got a smartphone. I'm going, I can't afford a smartphone.
Huh. Wow.
Of course, I'm not smart enough to do it. It's a good thing the phone's smart, though. That way you don't have to be, I guess.
Right.
Right?
Right. It's like you've outsourced
It's like compensate.
your smartness,
Yeah, so it's almost like the great equalizer, because you can be, like, wicked stupid, but if you got a smartphone...
It all works out in the end. It all comes out in the wash, as they say.
So, like, geniuses don't really need smartphones at all, then.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're a true genius, I think you can just transmit from your mind electromagnetic pulses or whatever, however that works. I don't know.
Unless the EMP goes off, and then you're in trouble.
Right, that's true, and that could happen. That's a very real threat.
They don't have any EMPs anymore. It's only just like Hannafords and stuff. Okay, so...
He knows how to stop us, doesn't he?
He does. He really does. Yes.
Control by confusion.
You got your pink sheet?
My pink sheet.
Pink sheet.
Pink sheet. Oh, let's see. Education. What do we do relative to state tuition? Oh, yeah. So we had a bill in the House today to help people who are of illegal immigrants, so that they could get in-state tuition. And that was like confusing to me, because
you break the law, so we help you
get
educated.
Not only do you break the law would have it's actually did it pass? Let's see. Yeah, it passed. Passed the House. When I say it passed, I mean the House. It still has to go to the Senate.
Right.
But fundamentally, you not only have to break the law, you have to keep track of how long you've been breaking the law so that your kids get in-state tuition.
Right.
Okay, that's like somebody's, I don't know, a murderer. And they say, okay, you murdered on February, and now, you know what I mean? They're like keeping track of, because it's a criminal offense.
Well, it's a misdemeanor. Being in the country illegally is a misdemeanor. It's not technically, it's not a felony. It's not a crime, per se. But I have a question, though.
But that's just insane. I mean, why would we give in-state tuition to somebody who's not supposed to be here?
Right. No, I know.
But that's like, come on.
But here's my question. Is this a big, are there a lot of undocumented workers in the state of New Hampshire?
You mean the illegals?
I don't use that term. I think it's dehumanizing. I don't use that term. I understand why you guys do it, but I don't use that term. But is that
we could call them lawbreakers instead.
If you want. But
sorry, Matt.
It's all right. But no, but is this a big problem though? Like, are there? I mean, I associate problems this with the southern states. I don't.
It has to be a big enough issue that if there's only two people then why would some legislator come forward with this idea? Or is it just
resume building, because if you pass bills, then when it's campaign time, you can say, "Oh, look what I did," when you make
look what I
campaign
did
ads.
yeah.
for all the illegal aliens?
But I mean, does anyone know? Does anyone? Are
I
there,
don't know. I didn't stay in there for the debate.
Yeah, because
Some,
I never.
some debates I really just don't. I said no. I'm not going
Do
to
you
sit
have any
through
idea,
that.
Karen?
No, I don't.
Because I never,
really don't.
I never hear anyone talking
Except
about
that,
this in New Hampshire.
well, there are, and I know that there are businesses that when they're competing for jobs and so forth that
Yeah.
feel undercut because there are people who are employing the illegal people who are here against the law.
Right.
And so they can take they're not going to necessarily take a regular job, because you're supposed to fill out this form, a
Yeah.
W-9, and then I think it's an I-9 also, that's supposed to either show your passport or show your birth certificate or some documentation to your employer so that they can verify who you are and
Yeah.
that you're here legally. And if you're not collecting that kind of information from your employee and you're paying them under the table,
Yeah.
and they're not paying taxes and they're not
Right.
contributing to the society, I mean, those are the people we're talking about. And this, the classic, I guess, example is the one out in California where the guy now has a law degree, and so
Oh,
he
yeah.
now wants to practice law, and the
I think
circuit
they okayed
court,
it. The circuit court
They
said
did.
it's
One of
okay
the
for him to
courts
practice
said it
law,
was, yeah.
even though he's not even a citizen.
right.
It's just insane. I mean, if you go to almost any other country, as far as I know, illegally, they arrest you.
Yeah, you can't you can't
Yes.
do it if you want to cross the southern
United-
border. You can't do it.
Right.
Yeah, if you were from south of Mexico and you come up over the border, they throw you in jail.
Right.
It's a crime. It's like we're the only ones that got this porous border that just anybody can walk across and say, hey,
Here's the way I see it, and this is probably, I don't hear anyone else expressing this, so I think I have kind of a unique point of view on this.
You have a unique point of view on a lot of things.
I
Matt
do.
Connarton.
I do.
That's because he's always trying to make people think.
I
Anyway,
try.
go
Thank
ahead.
you, Karen.
He
Thank you.
doesn't succeed with me. That's why I need a smartphone.
I keep trying. I'm persistent.
Yes.
I feel like I feel like as a country we've been very disingenuous about our southern border, because we get very upset about people crossing it illegally, but there's never the political will to do anything about it. And I suspect, I mean, with George W. Bush, we had 8 years of a Republican president, for example, and Republicans are supposed to care about this.
And they did nothing.
Bush,
And they
Bush
didn't do
did
it.
nothing. And my theory has always been it's because the people who are really in control of the federal government, the corporations and other elements as well, they don't want that border sealed. So people pay a lot of lip service to this. Oh, we got to do something about the border. We got to build this fence and whatnot. But meanwhile, while we're talking this, we're also going, okay, you Mexicans over there, you don't come over this border illegally, wink, wink. Even though there's thousands and thousands of businesses here that want to hire you, nudge, nudge, because they want the cheap labor.
But
It's a scam.
That's
why I
to a
don't
large
bl-
extent.
that's
but
why I don't
we
blame the
have,
people.
you can't blame the people. But what we have to do is we have to enforce the laws that we have.
Yeah.
And enforce the laws that employers that they are held to accountable for verified, basically. And if they're not going to do
We
that,
voted
then
down
we need.
E-Verify actually today.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I voted against it.
Well,
Really?
they.
Ooh.
The thing is, though, if we were to parade those employers who hire these people, then you shut down the demand for them.
Yeah, if you that's
And-
my belief has been all along that if you prosecute the people who are hiring them, they will not come up here.
Right.
But we don't.
But we
Right.
don't. But that's something that we really need to push for. And we have to secure the borders, because if you go down to, I don't know if you've seen any of the footage that Dennis Michael Lynch has done through They Come to America. But he's been down on the and seen the signs that are down there. Those signs are not only in English, they're in Spanish, which you expect.
Right.
They're also in Chinese. Why?
Really?
Why in Chinese? And he's got footage too where you can see that there's one guy there that's like this the whole time. Well, he happens to not be Mexican background, but he's got a Middle Eastern background. And why are the Middle Easterners coming across? You know,
Right.
go watch the movie. What is it? Act of Valor. And it points out the danger that the national security danger that we
Right.
have by not securing our borders. And it's not just the southern border; it's also the northern border.
Right. Right.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate the French too. Anyway,
It's not just the French. I
No.
mean, that border is
No,
a
did I say
long
French?
border.
Yeah, but
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you meant as you. But pardon your French. You didn't.
Right.
You didn't mean it. Why did you vote against E-Verify? I'm really curious.
because it was federal government. Because if it was just illegal aliens, I'd be okay. I don't care if we put duck stamps on them, for all I care. But if it's American,
Careful, poor David Campbell. He won't appreciate your.
that actually wasn't directed at him. But now that you mention it, so anyway,
I thought it was. No.
you think I'm that? Oh yeah, I
No.
guess I am.
Is he the guy who ran over the ducks?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I thought. Yeah.
So no, I don't. But the thing is, it was a bill to e-verify. I think it was, if memory serves me, to first, state and local governments that they would have to e-verify anybody that was employed. Well, now, so my wife, who's works at the school, all of a sudden she's got to have papers and have fingerprints and have this and have that and have this and have that, and then it's in the federal database.
Oh, because you can't. Is it because you can't profile with E-Verify? So everyone would have
Everybody
to go
would
through
have to if it's going to work.
I see what.
And it's a national
okay.
database of people, and I don't like the federal government involved.
Interesting. Yeah.
I can't keep track of my
That-
wife. I don't think they should.
Right. Fair enough.
Well, that's very true. And I mean, look at NSA and all of the information that they're collecting, and even
Well, that's okay. We're going to give that to Verizon, and then we'll ask Verizon for the information back.
and then
I don't know, but this is a new present idea that we're going to take all that information and give it to a third party.
is that what they're using the big facility
Not
in Utah
now.
for?
I said that's what his idea is, to give all that, have a third party collect all that information, and then have a warrant sent to that people. So I'm sure that people who are not profoundly politically connected would end up with a contract to hold all that information that they shouldn't be keeping to begin with. Hey, anyway, so also, I don't know, I think Karen and I are going to disagree on this one. We voted on GMOs. I voted for GMO labeling because I find one of the greatest threats to one of the things you're supposed to do as a legislator is to defend the Constitution. That's one of your primary things. Right now, and I don't have this exact number, but something like 70 or 80% of the food that we eat, part of it is patented by Monsanto.
Mm-hmm.
That is a direct threat to the liberty and the safety of everybody in this country and should not be tolerated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If they've got that high a monopoly, basically it's a monopoly on the food, that's dangerous.
Extremely.
Extremely. I
And
agree.
so I not only believe in labeling, I know that there were some technical problems with it. In other words, all of a sudden restaurants would have to label, and then they'd have to keep track of where they're getting everything. And I understand there's issues with the idea. I voted for it in principle, not in practical, in a practical sense.
Application, right.
So I don't know where you stand on that.
Well, I think that we have to watch what's going into our body. I mean, people are reacting to food. I mean, there's a reason that we have the obesity, the high insulin resistance that we have in this country, and it's, there are a lot of things. I find it very interesting how much sugar is in everything.
Yeah.
If you're on a situation, if you're diabetic and you're supposed to be avoiding sugar, you have to pick up every label and look, and it's amazing what they put sugar in.
See
Oh, yeah.
I'm okay with because
Well,
it's labeled.
It's labeled.
Sure,
But you
yeah.
but if you're not labeling the fact that this has been genetically modified,
Right.
how is anybody supposed to protect themselves if they really are
Well,
trying to watch that? And
Right.
and they are concerned, and they're educated, and they've gone through and they've researched, and they've got every legitimate reason to be concerned.
Yeah.
I understand that it's expensive to have to do that, but if you're going to make
Monsanto can
something,
afford it.
Yeah, no, I just, in principle, I like the idea that people have as much information as they really need. I am personally a little bit getting a little paranoid because all we need is somebody to, for whatever reasons, cross something with a peanut, and the next thing you know, I'm eating carrots and I'm dead.
Well, this is one of the interesting things too. Is say you're trying to avoid corn because corn's genetically modified, etc., and you're trying to see if you have an intolerance for that. Well, if your chicken eats corn, if your beef has been fed corn, then you're getting it through another source. You need to be able to know and
that's a very good
avoid
point.
that.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are the big interesting ones.
You spent all day on those two bills.
Oh no,
It might have been. You never know.
Yeah.
that weren't the only two bills. We didn't do.
How did the firearm one yesterday go?
I don't know. I was you know how they say a friend in need is a friend indeed. Well, I've had a friend of a friend that was in need, so I was transporting somebody all over the place.
I see.
Was that
Forgiven.
the background checks
Yes.
again? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Again.
the background checks for it's people don't know that they think that there's this huge
Whole.
hole in the system that somebody can just go into a gun show and just buy a handgun from somebody.
That's not true.
That is it's illegal in New Hampshire for me to sell a handgun to somebody that I do not know.
Right.
It's
And
already the law.
It's already the law, and you cannot sell as an individual to anybody across state lines.
Right.
And if you happen to be a dealer in that show, you cannot just sell a gun to anybody. You have to do a background check because that's part of your business.
Right.
So yeah, it's already there. It's a redundant law.
It's just a red herring that they want. And basically, if that went into effect, that if Matt wanted to buy a gun off me, all of a sudden I got to go through a dealer, and that's really none of the government's business.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because Matt buys a lot of guns from me all the time. Like once a day, right?
Well, but
Yeah, I keep
once
them in
you
my trunk.
once you sell a certain number of guns, aren't you now a dealer?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think once you sell a certain number of guns, that you are
gonna rat me
on a
out?
regular. Well, you just ratted yourself out on.
I shouldn't have mentioned they're in my trunk, should I?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Where's your hand grenade today? I'm missing it.
Oh, dude, that's 2
It's
weeks
on
in a
the
row.
seat.
I think.
Yeah, I know.
Oh man, where is it?
It's on the seat in the room there, the red seat.
Oh, I'll go get it.
Would you?
We gotta have the hand grenade.
Exactly.
Good. I'm so glad I noticed that.
Thank you. I don't know what to do without him.
Well, we can bounce ideas off left and right. I'm just
No, I can't. I don't know what to do without Matt.
well. He became
Thanks, Matt.
speechless,
You're welcome.
Matt, when you
Yeah,
left.
right.
I mean, it
I
was
know,
like,
I felt my
That's right.
security blanket was gone.
Yeah.
well, the other one just came back, so
I
now
know.
you're set.
There you go.
So I found I met Karen at the March for Life Saturday. She did a nice presentation, and I learned something Saturday because we walked. It was about 300 to 400 people walked from the
400.
state.
There were
100.
over 400.
Really?
Somebody was counting them, and there was 450 about.
Wow. So there's 450 people, which is a huge number on a cold day.
Yeah.
When
Wow.
it's snowing.
It was snowing. It really
Yeah.
was snowing. Yeah.
And but
Heavily.
what I learned that's a past tense of learnt.
Right.
Yes.
I've learned. I thought they only used that in England.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I'd
Yeah.
never been
Gary
there.
watches a lot of BBC.
Yeah,
see.
I know I don't.
Oh.
I watch Monty Python, but that's not a lot. But so that if you assault a state representative, it is the similar law or the same law as if you assault a police officer.
Really?
So I'm going to probably have to press charges on my 8-year-old grandson.
Because he.
Beats me up.
I've seen it.
He's seen it. He's seen it.
He really does, dude.
see-
Like, I saw him beating the hell out of you that one day. I was like, wow.
See?
And you egg it on.
Well, yeah, but
Do you take him out in the backyard and push him around? And
Well, usually it centers around like him wanting something at like Dunkin' Donuts. He'll start
Oh, I
hitting me
see.
and stuff, and then my granddaughter, she picks on me too.
Oh, you poor thing.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
I know. I'm
yeah.
feeling bad for myself just thinking about it.
So what did this have to do with the March for Life?
Just because I learned that my grandchildren were actually committing a crime that was much more severe than just assault.
Oh, I see. That's right, because you're a state rep.
Right.
Oh.
Exactly. Exactly.
Don't they have to be old enough to understand that that's what they're doing?
I told them.
Well, I know your grandson knows because I remember hearing you say, "Ouch."
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Karen, we didn't ask you to come on just to talk about state stuff, but it is interesting. I'd like to go over that. So your candidacy for, why are you running? I don't know. What do you want to talk about? What do you want to go?
Why am I running?
Yeah.
And you're officially in, right? You're not in the
I am.
exploratory phase.
Well,
You're officially.
I'm officially in. Yes.
You are, okay.
Yeah. The reality is that this country's in trouble, and we've got some people in Washington D.C. who seem to think that government should control us and watch over us and make sure that we're eating the right things and that we're shopping the right places and.
What's your
But in reality, the Constitution, as it was set up by our founding fathers, was so that we could be governed by whatever it was that we, the people, and we, the states, told the government that they could do.
Right.
And it seems to me that they've gone completely the opposite direction. And so we need some people in Washington, D.C. who have integrity, who have commitment, and who have a moral compass that will stand up and say, enough's enough. We got to put this ship back in the right direction.
What's your stance on the whole NSA thing?
You know, I was thinking this guy had done us a really good thing by letting us know what was going on, and certainly in creating that information. There is some question now about how much information he was collecting and to what extent, and has he in fact been sold, or has he sold this information to other countries to our detriment?
Right.
And if the extent of the amount of information that has gone on is a real threat to the American national security. So I'm kind of concerned about it. I'm waiting to see more of what.
Yeah, but what do you think about the NSA collecting?
Oh, it's not good. Not good. There's no reason for them to be watching on every citizen. If they have a reason, then go to the courts, get your warrant. And I'm not talking secret courts. Go to the regular courts, get your warrant, and abide by the Fourth Amendment, which says that we as citizens are entitled to not be subject to unwarranted search and seizure.
Yeah, you should be. See, the thing is, I think there's a lot of libertarians who have an issue with that amendment. Because when they say you're supposed to be secure in their papers, they think it's rolling papers. In other words, the government can't come and take your stuff for your...
Right. Well, it's best to keep those, locked up or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway...
That was a nice way to slide into that. Fortunately, that's a state issue.
Yes. Yeah, I was just talking to Mel about that, the legalization of pot. And to me, it's just so dumb. I likened it to, and you're right, that's a state issue, but a friend of yours comes up and says, hey, I just made this new hang glider. I made two of them, one for each of us. He says, yeah? I says, yeah, go watch. And he goes up to a 500-foot drop and jumps off with his hang glider. Are you going to jump off immediately with your hang glider? Wouldn't it be logical to wait and see what happens? Like if he plummets, you say, I don't think so. Well, it's the same thing with Colorado. Let's wait and see what happens.
So are you saying you shouldn't hand glide while stoned?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I agree with that part.
Well, and certainly, there is research on the other side that says that it's not all that it's not as harmless as some people want to make it out to be. So I think if government's going to do anything, they should be publishing both sides of the story so that the individual can read it and figure it out.
I think we should legalize it.
Yeah.
And I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't smoke, but I just feel I think the drug war is a failure, and our prisons are packed full with low-level drug offenders. And I mean,
yeah. Wait. You say you don't smoke it. Do you inject it?
No. You know what I will do though, and this is the God's truth, if someone around me is smoking it, because I'm a musician, I'm around it, I will occasionally walk up to them and
It's
go,
kind of,
and just kind of breathe a little bit of it in.
huh. I'm a musician, so therefore I do drugs. That's what I heard.
No,
Anyway,
but
that's
creative
right.
people,
Yeah,
creative,
I did
No,
hear
no,
that.
I'm
Yeah.
just
creative
saying.
people tend to smoke pot.
okay.
That's a fact.
right.
They like to party.
And I like to party, but it is a state issue.
But
And
anyway,
our state is now going down one way, and the governor says she's going to do the other. So we'll wait and see what happens.
yeah, I think I hope she vetoes it. But anyway, so it's NSA on that as far as the Fourth Amendment, you're basically believe in that thing they call the Constitution.
Oh yes,
That people should be secure in
Well,
their property without.
there was a good reason that our founding fathers put these documents together, and they did a good job when they did. It's been something that's worked for almost 250 years. The last 50 years, however, we seem to be tinkering with the model because we didn't think it was good enough. We had all of these inventions. We became the foremost country in the world. We were a threat to any other country to even come bug us. And we seem to have said, well, that was too good. We'll go try something else and see if we can break it.
Right.
And we're breaking it. And so we need somebody to go back and say, wait a minute, these things worked. Why don't we put those things back in order again? There are a lot of things that work.
What other issues are you planning on tackling when you become
Well, you know,
senator?
the number one thing that bothers a whole lot of people out here, other than Obamacare. I mean, we can beat Obamacare to death.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, it would be awesome. But the other,
I didn't think of doing that. I thought you had to legislate against it, but if you can just beat it to death, that works.
well,
for
you've
me.
got to step on the air hose and start defunding it left and right. But I think too much of it's been implemented right now to be able to just go in and say we're repealing the whole doggone thing.
Yeah.
Too many people have been hurt by it. 24,000 people have had their insurance removed. We were supposed to be giving 20,000 people their insurance, and it's not working.
Yep.
I mean, and then not to mention the fact that people are facing a $200, $300, $500 a month increase in their insurance coverage.
brutal.
And it is brutal, especially when you're trying to put food on the table and a roof over your head and pay off all of those debt.
Yeah.
And the country isn't paying off the debt. This last $1.1 trillion budget agreement that they're coming up with, the pork that is in that is just outrageous. And then, not only that, they're doing it on the backs of our veterans.
Yeah.
Did you hear that Obamacare is so expensive in California the Mexicans are going back to Mexico?
I did hear something about that. I did hear something about that. Yeah.
Well,
So-
see, there you
So
go.
there
We don't
you
have
go.
to. We don't have to seal the border. We just, let Obamacare
And the only group
let it fly.
the only group that I know of that's actually benefiting from Obamacare are the ladies of the evening in Nevada, because they could never get insurance before, but now they have to accept insurance. They have.
Oh, I see. Yes. Wow. There you go.
So
the other
it is
issue,
good. It is.
I will talk about the other issue, though, is that bothers people is that we now have 20% of our people are not in the workforce. We've got 1 in 5 people is not working.
Right.
That's outrageous.
You can't.
And-
It's not sustainable either.
No, it's not sustainable. And if we don't put them back to work, and the best answer to putting people back to work is to grow our economy, not our government. Not increasing the number of IRS agents that we're hiring so that we can make sure Obamacare goes into place, but actually giving people jobs. And one of the ways that we can do that, we can become energy independent. Hello? And if we were to become energy independent, we'd grow our economy, we'd be providing jobs, we'd solve a whole lot of problems, and we could retire our debt.
Right.
Because we could be, instead of being the drain and accepting petroleum from the Middle East, we could be supplying petroleum all around the world.
Right.
What is your take on the Jean Shaheen
The tax queen, the
No.
insurance queen?
No, Jean Shaheen wrote a letter with five other senators,
Six
other senators, requesting the IRS do further investigation into Tea Party organizations.
Well,
I wonder if is that even legal to use your office to attack opponents?
Well, actually, she didn't do it quite that bad. I mean, what the letter was to ask the IRS to investigate these nonprofit organizations to make sure that they were legitimate. The fact that the IRS then decided to, or previously decided, now there's another theory on that, previously decided to investigate those people who were opponents of the administration's way of thinking, is something that we don't know that she had a direct hand in. Was she writing? I can see the scenario where she might be writing this letter because she's been requested to do so, because they've already been doing the investigations, the targeting of people who did not necessarily line up with the policies of the current administration, to give them cover. You know,
Right.
Well, gee whiz, the Senate asked us to do this.
Right.
That could be one scenario, but you cannot go to that letter and say that this is a direct.
It's not a smoking gun.
It's not a smoking gun. It's not. There's not a direct correlation between that and that.
But you don't. But you don't think it's inappropriate as a federal senator to use your office to attack your opponents?
Well, it would be.
I mean, politically, yes. I mean, you can say, it's like you're going to go up and attack Obamacare. That's a political statement. But to use a branch of government like the IRS, probably one of the most intimidating branches of government, and say, hey, I need you to go after these people.
Well, yeah, if you could directly show that, but you can't show that just by that letter. It doesn't.
It infers it, but it doesn't quite say it.
It doesn't say go after this particular group. It just says go and investigate further. That's why I said you could make this scenario where it might be that they were providing cover, but you can't. I don't know when these investigations were going on. I haven't seen anything that lines it up and says, well, this investigation started on January of 2011. And she wrote the letter on January 2012, says that it might be a cover-up. But if she wrote the letter in January 12 and they started the investigation in February of 12, it just says that they asked.
Right.
They're following through on what they're asked to do.
So
is there any evidence that any Tea Party groups in New Hampshire were investigated?
Yes, there are some. I don't know about the Tea Party groups per se, but I do know that there were individuals who were targeted. And I've talked to individuals who feel that they were targeted. I've talked to the individuals who, one gentleman, in fact, who was teaching. He was a homeschooler,
right.
And he was doing some good material with his method of addressing history of the country,
right.
Was admired by other families, and they asked him to start doing it. So he was being so successful in that he started actually a small academy and applied for a nonprofit. And the amount of questions and scrutiny he was undergoing was definitely intimidating. Several pages worth. Now, I've applied for 2 nonprofit organizations, and one took us about 4 months. That was back in 2000, before any of this sort of stuff.
Which one was that?
Cornerstone Policy Research.
Oh, that's because you started that.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did.
Yes, you should mention that.
Well, I started Cornerstone Policy Research. Yeah.
There you go.
I was the executive director for 8 years, but I just applied for another one, and it came through in it was about 6, maybe 7 months by the time I got the paperwork. So it wasn't extensively, but they didn't ask me any of the horrible questions that they've been asking others.
Really?
Some of them, they wanted to know not only who's contributing to you, which they're not supposed to be able to do. They wanted to know who was sitting on the board, what were their jobs, and one group was a church, and they wanted to know what was the content of your prayers. I mean,
Really?
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
silly, crazy stuff
Yeah,
like that.
wow.
So it's obvious that if you're having to fill out 8 pages worth of questions, they're intruding far more than they need to.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it's a deliberate intimidation.
Oh, it definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so in reality, you know what would be the best thing for us overall when it comes to taxes, our tax, our income tax system? We ought to go down to a very, very simple postcard. You fill out how much money you get, you made this year, and you calculate what percentage, 10 to 17% of that, and that's what your pay should be.
No,
You
I
write
agree.
that check, you send it in.
Yeah.
Get rid of all the deductions, get rid of all the little loopholes. Then people don't have to feel like they're being slighted in any way.
Yeah.
And everybody pays something, at least $1. If you fall below a certain wage level per year, you have to pay at least $1.
Right.
Because once you have to buy into something, once you have to use your hard-earned dollars to do something, you're going to respect it.
Right.
You look at the children. You give them a teddy bear that it just, they gave away teddy bears today. Where's that teddy bear end up? It could be in the street in the rain. It could be in the toilet. It could be almost anywhere.
Right.
But if you say to John, your grandson, who is
Scotty.
Scotty, Scotty, you want that teddy bear? Well, you can take out the trash every day this week, and I'll give you $5 or a quarter every day until you earn that money. Scotty's going to take really, really good care of that teddy bear. It's going to be in his bed, covered up. He's going to talk to it. He's going to do all kinds of things with that teddy bear, but it's
Right.
not going to be on the floor in the trash.
Right. I've been saying, and Gary, you've heard me say this several times, that I've
Do I remember is another question.
Well, yeah, that's true. This might actually be new to you. But I've been saying that I think the Republicans in Washington really missed an opportunity with this IRS thing because, like Darrell Issa and some others really, really tried really hard to make it all about Obama. And I thought that was just and then it turned out there was no real proof that the administration had anything to do with it. I think that would have been a great time for Republicans, instead of focusing on that, to say, look, here's a perfect example of why we need to gut the IRS and simplify the tax code so that these kinds of abuses can't take place. And a lot of Democrats would have gone along with that too. Maybe not Democrats in Washington, but certainly Democratic voters, because who likes the IRS? Who's going to stick up for the IRS? Nobody likes the IRS. And I think that would have been a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, it was.
And instead there was just, we got to make it about Obama.
Yeah, we've got to
That's a
point
good
fingers
point.
and yeah. My dad used to say all the time, when you point that finger, blame at something or someone.
That's why when I do it,
There's-
I do this.
Yeah, there's 3 more coming back at you.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to point. You've got 4 fingers to blame.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Maybe
Or,
that negates
or
it.
you can go like this.
Yeah,
That way
yeah.
I just get Matt and you at the same time.
You can always just do the thumb point.
Right.
Like a lot of politicians do the
No,
thumb
because
point.
then you've
No,
got
'cause
4
then you still
months.
got 4 pointing
They're
back
still
at
pointing
you.
back
Well,
at.
they're kind of inward though. See how I'm doing it? You got to get them inward like that, but you still got the
You're
thumb
doing
out
the
there.
fist, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Maybe that's not good. Yeah. It shouldn't be a fist. All right.
What, now, this is a really weird show.
They all are.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about in general. It's just we just.
Oh yeah. Well,
we're
that's
a
true.
little bit
Yeah. That's
strange.
that's what makes it so charming.
We are.
I like to imagine so.
Yes. Okay, I can live with that.
Yeah.
Hey, so.
Peace for horses, straw is cheaper, grass is free, and when you live on a ranch, you
Not
can
if it's
have all
GMOs.
3.
So.
Oh, not if it, okay.
Right. So, what's your take on what's going on in the Middle East?
We could put all of that stuff to bed if we just drill, frack, and build that pipeline.
So you don't you
would.
think if we don't have a financial interest in it, we should just get out?
Well, not just a financial interest. I mean, there are strategic reasons for us to be in certain places. However, we shouldn't be fighting all of these battles. We shouldn't be sending our
I
men
agree.
into harm's way unless the Congress has said this is a declared war and we're going to go here and this is what our objective is and we are going to turn it over to the generals and let them go fight the war.
Right.
And once that objective is met, we bring our people home. I mean, there's no reason for us to decide that we're going to go over into Iran and decide who's going to be the right person to put up there. That's not up to us.
Right.
And that's nation building. That's not something that the Americans have ever done in the past.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. I mean,
wait. We
other
have done it in
countries
the
have.
past.
Well, we shouldn't be doing it.
Well, post-war, yeah.
No,
Well,
I was
but
just
we're
thinking
not
about
going
like
over-
Iran. One of the reasons the Iranians resent the heck out of us is they had a democratically elected government, and we didn't like what they were going to do with this new democratically elected government. They were going to nationalize some of the oil fields, so we started basically a rebellion and put the Shah of Iran
Right.
into place. And after a while, depends on who you talk to. I know some people that came over here from Iran who were
Right.
on the good side of the Shah, and they loved them. But for whatever reason, they turned on us, and they turned on the Shah, and they took it over. And then, I think that was the primary impetus behind most of this terrorism that we see today.
Exactly, and that's one of the things. Where it doesn't matter whether we're talking about foreign policy and different countries and who's ruling those countries or who's in charge of those countries, or whether we're talking about our businesses. We and the government should not be in the business, so to speak, of picking winners and losers.
Mm-hmm.
Of bailing people out when we shouldn't be bailing them out, of choosing what dictator should be in charge. That's not our business.
Is it?
I don't think so.
I'm just
Another hypothetical.
no.
No,
It's just that I agree with you in principle, but then there's the other side of that coin. That let's say we pulled a Ron Paul. And we just pulled out of every place around the country. We just,
I'm not done. I'm
no,
not saying that.
I know you're
Okay.
not saying
Okay,
that.
good.
But let's say we pulled
Be sure you know that.
we pulled all troops away out of Germany, Japan, South Korea, every place, brought them back home, let them find jobs, and said, "That's it. We've had enough of the world." And in that absence, Russia and China would quickly and effectively fill that gap, and they would be supporting this dictator here and this dictator here and this
Right.
dictator here,
Be a nightmare.
and pretty soon we would be completely surrounded
But
by countries that were hostile towards us. So we do have a vested interest in trying to
have a
stem
strategic
the tide.
Well, to have a strategic presence in various places is very important. Yes, I don't think we should be pulling out of everybody and becoming an isolationist. That's not
Strategic is the key word there.
right.
Yeah.
You have to think about what theater are you in, and do you have a presence there so that you, by the strength of your military and the fact that they're there, that the other countries will behave themselves. That's what we need to do. But that doesn't mean that we go into Syria and say, oh, we're going to support this regime that wants to kill us anyway, or we're going to support the other side that wants to kill us anyway. Or that I think we definitely have to go into, use our sanctions on Iran. Our economic sanctions were working. Why we decided we were going to try something new, I don't know. But
We have a call. Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line? Hello?
Hi there.
Hey, Norm.
Hey, this young lady has my vote all the way.
Oh, very
Thank you.
good.
Hey, thanks, Norm.
I like what I was reading her card there, and I like what she stands for. She definitely has my vote.
Well, thank you very much, Norm. Tell your neighbors
Okay?
and your
And
friends.
then we'll have to get Gary. I want to steal her from your show to come on my show next.
Well, that's up to her. I don't think you can actually steal her from me.
But I will ask her to come on Facebook or email her and see if you'd be willing to come on my show.
Unless you're going to buy me lunch, then I'll steal her.
I really applaud this lady for her stance and her opinions.
Well, thank you very much, Norm.
Thanks,
And
Norm.
I'll look forward to that Facebook.
All righty. You all have a great day now. Keep up the good work. Gary, you finally got some of you on. That's good. Thank you.
Once in a row, Norm.
Thanks, Norm. Bye-bye.
Oh, don't tell that to Kurt Wepler. He was on last week.
Oh, Kurt's a good guy, too.
He is a really good
He
guy.
is a really good guy.
He's been in the trenches for a long time.
He has been. Now, you know, and Kurt took over from Ed Holgate.
I very vaguely remember. I remember
Yeah.
the name. Not sure I remember him.
He was around for a long time. It was,
When you know, it was funny because that reminded me. Kurt reminded me back of Saturday when we were talking at the March for Life. That I don't know if you know this, because this is part of this whole GMO thing kind of unnerves me.
Yeah.
Because there's a fundamental principle that just because you can technically do something, it doesn't mean it's a good idea to do it.
Right. Right.
And one of the things they were talked about last Saturday was that some genius came up with the idea of taking an embryo, and they introduced the genetic code from, I believe it was a squid or
I think jellyfish, he said.
Jellyfish.
On the show, yeah.
And a jellyfish that made that embryo glow.
It's creepy.
it is cool. It is very creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a glowing personality.
As we can all see.
Right, but that's not the same thing.
Sometimes I'm blinded by it.
Right, but
Yes.
it doesn't mean I can illuminate the ground around.
But it wasn't a
Well, maybe you can.
man-created situation, you know. It wasn't a man-created situation.
Right, yeah, I just think the whole thing is very,
Well, that's just
very
like-
dangerous turf.
Right, and it's just like when you're weighing, when you're weighing legislation one way or the other, sometimes you get down to, is it the right thing to do, or are we just covering things up? So you go with what is really right.
Yeah, it's like I was telling Karen before the show today. I voted on. I'm not going to get into the details of the bill, but it's an early offer for medical malpractice.
Oh, okay.
And
Does that come up every year?
this is what came up last term, but this term it was a fix.
Oh, okay.
And the people in charge of the Republican Party, one of them came aside and says, "You can't be doing that." I said, "What do you mean I can't be doing what?" I came because the minority leader in my committee, Bob Rowe, had come out against this bill, and I was in favor of it. And they were saying, "Well, you as a Republican, you can't do that. You can't have two Republicans fighting it out on the House floor."
Why not?
Well,
Isn't that the way the thing is structured, so that the whole purpose of having you on the floor is so that you can debate this and come to the best conclusion?
Yeah.
you would think, but anyway, because it put basically a Republican on the side of quote unquote the Democrats. I don't really think this is I don't really look at this as even a partisan issue personally.
Then
but
you get the rhino tag.
yeah, you get the rhino tag. So they took me aside and says, "You really shouldn't be doing that."
Little horn was that was
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah, right. I thought I had that covered. No.
No. You gotta grow your hair out a little more.
Yeah. So I said, look, when I vote, I understand the Republican platform, but morality is a lot more important to me than what the platform says. The platform can change tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I'm still going to vote what I think is moral. I go by a moral compass, and I might be wrong once in a while. That doesn't mean I'm right all the time. But I look at
human after all.
Barely. And, I know what the Republican platform is, but you don't go up to Concord or go to Washington, D.C. to represent the Republican platform. You go there to do the right thing.
Right.
What is it constitutional? Is it moral? And then somewhere down that line of priorities, well, what is the Republican platform? But it's not. It shouldn't be at the top of your list.
Right.
No. Well, as you say, and even when you're considering is it constitutional? And if it's not constitutional, then why are you doing it? If it's constitutional, then is it necessary for us even to do it?
Right.
It may not be necessary for us to
Yeah,
do
why
it.
write legislation for the sake of writing legislation?
Exactly.
Right.
Well, 40,000 bills went into law on the 1st of January this year around the country. 40,000. As my husband says, did they mess up that bad?
Well, no, I actually had an argument again to support that.
Oh, you did? Okay,
I do.
well, this is interesting.
And it,
You have to fix all of those bills?
no.
Oh,
Well, kind of. But my argument is that over the years, we have been less and less over time ruled by a moral compass and more ruled by a litigious society. And if morality is, to me, has been replaced by legality, okay? And if we are only in a legal system, then just like if you have a computer program, you have, like say, a secure computer program, you have other programmers that are looking a way around it. Okay, it is the same thing when you become just strictly a legal system, and the legal system is now your morality, has usurped what the Constitution talks about morality, and now the legal system is morality. That means that there's X number of lawyers looking for a way around, a crack in the
which is why
chink
we
in the
have
armor.
200,000 is it 200,000 pages that the Affordable Care Act was, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
still isn't finished being
Yeah, it's
written.
still growing.
It's because of all of the legalese and so forth in it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say, it's horrible that we've come to that, but that's what it is. A lot of it is
But
there's
how do we
always
get-
a lawyer looking for a way around to try
That
to
may
take
be.
it to game the system.
So how do we get back away from that?
Shoot
So do
lawyers?
Well, you could say.
I
that
don't
if
think
their
you probably
mouths-
want to go on record as saying that, but that's
No,
not-
I
Probably
don't
no. You said it.
I said
Yes.
it. I just-
Gary S. Hopper said that, not Karen Testerman.
Yeah, Karen
Thank
Testerman
you.
did not say that. She didn't even shake her head yes.
I didn't.
right.
I didn't.
You're
I'm,
right.
I'm
I
trying
bet, I bet you wanted to.
No, actually, what I was going to say was if their lips move, that's what they say about politicians. If their lips move,
You know they're lying.
they're
Yeah,
lying.
yeah.
So you need to replace them.
Right.
So that's why I keep telling people I'm not a politician, not a career politician.
No, I know you're not. You've always been fighting for what you believed in, and you've done a really
But
good job for a long time.
The reality is that if we recognizing that what you're saying is right, but that is not what America is supposed to be.
No, I agree.
And so if we're going to turn this big ship of state back in the right direction, we have to elect people who are principled and quit looking at them and saying, oh, I know that name, or, she's such a nice lady, but you got to look and see what is it that they stand for. What do they believe? What have they done? Look at their voting record or their what have they done with their life that can show you what kind of person they really are.
We gotta go.
I
by the
agree.
way.
We
right.
got to go, but what did I want to say? Before I go,
Testermanforsenate.com.
Testermanforsenate.com, but I didn't get to go to a funeral service today or a memorial service for Stretch Kennedy, a
Yes.
6-term state representative who was just one of those icons.
Really?
He used to come into the legislature with this bag, okay, or his briefcase or bag, I forget which.
Probably a paper bag, knowing Stretch.
No,
it was really.
No, it was like real bag, and you knew there were guns in it. And it didn't matter what the rules of the House were. You knew this guy had guns all over him. He's just one of those people who was just an awesome guy who passed away last week. He helped me on my special election.
Oh, really?
I think, if I remember correctly, he gave me like $500 for my special election. And he's just a really cool guy. He used to talk about being in Mexico and being in a shootout and everything else.
Wow.
He's a very colorful man,
Very,
but-
very colorful.
but-
Really fun.
and quite a character too.
Really?
He would walk in and stir up the conversation just because he wanted you to think about things,
Yeah.
You'd see
And
him-
he'd take the complete opposite. He's a very conservative man, but he'd come out with some left comment, and you go,
Yeah.
"What was that all about?"
Right.
He's a great guy, and he'll be sorely missed. Thank you very much, Karen. Good
Thank
luck.
you for having
You're
me.
awesome.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank you.
Karen.
It's
Thank
Matt,
you.
right? Matt, right?
Matt.
Matt.
Matt,
Yes.
we'll
yes.
see you next week, right?
Next week.
Next
yes.
week,
next,
Matt.
next week, Gary. Yes.
Take care.